Good afternoon. Hope we're doing well today. Of course, I realize I can't see. I was leaving my contacts in too long. Wanted to discuss today the touchy subject, right? What is the touchy subject? Which I would naturally have already believed it was inherent in all things. While all people, whether consciously, subconsciously, universally, or something, had to come up and go beep, beep, beep. I'm not touching you. Beep. I'm not touching you. Beep. I'm not touching you. Hey, I can do whatever I want, but you can't. Only to bring about there to ever be a conversation like this. And then for that to, God dang, to equal into the touchiness of the subject of the soul. Ironic as it is. Just by going on some basic premises of, well, if God was here before all of us and before human consciousness, then what's wrong with people? If ants can get along, but we can't. If every person has a unique and special soul, and there was one set apart from everyone, then nobody could be that one except for him. And if that one was the one of everyone, then he would have to arrive looking a little bit sus, huh? Especially if he was being created through the creation, and the creation was being both solidified and taken apart as he was being created. While it's hard to balance that concept of who made who. If it took so long, and could the world guide a person to take control of such a thing? And if so, well, would that be the world's fault? Or would it be the man's fault? Especially since he'd have to be the divine feminine and blah, 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 blah. There's just like a million ways you can go around in this. But it really comes down to, well, who made who? If each of us have to come to our own conclusion about who we are, and it does have everything to do with this concept of there is only one. But that one is in everyone. But nobody is the one. And the one is everything apart from each of us. But nature, as conscious as it is blind. Each body, as conscious as it is a know-it-all and blind. And consciousness of being conscious in itself is very innocent and very blind. While being able to see itself coming into formation and being afraid of itself, but not afraid. This is sort of respect and honor of others. While those that hold that honor and respect would continually disrespect or pull that, run up to and run away. But, oh, see, we're all bosses. You're not. We're all bosses. You're not. We have groups. You're not. While the innocent one coming up, awakening, especially if each one is the one, or if there is a one in particular, would be coming up and be as blind and full of wool and skipping along like a lamb, and everyone would be taking pictures going by and selling those photos, making money and everything. And then each time the lamb would come up, then somebody would be like, get out of here, get out of here. Or, oh, well, he's eating in my yard And so you all need to respect it. And then people be getting jealous about what the Joneses have. And then he wouldn't be able to fit in anywhere. Well, that's kind of weird. If the world's all about fitting in, and yet it's a global system, and there's only one of us, but how many world leaders are there? How many religions? Especially if each individual has to hold all those positions, if nothing else, then one must have to hold all those positions against themselves as what's the right word? Because hindsight's 2020, and knowing the past and history is one thing, but from the respect of knowing something now, and you can always learn more. Excuse me, I'm gonna have to sneeze here. It somewhat cancels out the past. So that's why, and they did that on purpose. So that all the stories, for instance, could be tied to one guy that did live. But did he? And in every country in the world, in every religion, in every story, I don't know, that looks a little sus, doesn't it? But everybody can be him, but nobody can be him. To make it respectful. But then there's one guy that gets to be him. The Tsar. The Pope. The monarch. The head of the book club. You know, whoever's the boss. Put in that position, not by that person's power alone. By the power of all those invested in me, as a word to use. So the Pope is only the Pope because of all the people that show up and claim that he's the Pope. But what does the Pope say if that's here ladders an exchange of the pole, stuck on the pole? Yeah. So he's not the bad guy, he ain't the good guy. Yeah, the devil put him in that position, but so did all the men and powers that be in order to cause things to work themselves out somehow. And so he's a reflection of each of ourselves as a piece within, but also a tyrant without. But you can't harm him. He doesn't have any weapons. You know, he was given that position. It's not his fault. So on and so forth. Look at all the men that don't commit war that are working under him, you know. But then at the same time, who are the balance of that of, okay, so then who has to be Genghis Khan that is equal to that guy to balance that out? To run the world without running the world, to be the gangster, not the gangster, to have all the women serving him, but none of the women serve him. But as an inversion of the Tower of Babel, of Nimrod and the Tower to Heaven as the Pope, the papacy, and that concept, while all of the world's history is in the basement, even St. Peter's Basilica, where he goes and nightly and worships the upside down cross of the one who was unlike Jesus. As to opposed to the one that is like Jesus, but neither of them are Jesus, but Jesus is a title, but oh shit, yeah, the story just spirals. And all of the stories spiral in such a manner. And for instance, even looking at, so a position I've been put in is, oh yeah, I got to do it the dumbest way possible. Wildbreak, their job is to make fun of it and make money at it. Making fun of and be like, oh, well, I can write a song about what you're doing right now. Look, I got 5,000 views today. What'd you do? Ain't that the ego? Ain't that the devil? Ain't that the false teacher? And teaching what? And that there's no judgment in that. But while everybody could easily look at the individual at the short end of the stick, all sus, when doesn't it kind of make everyone else look suspect? Especially since as soon as this guy shows up, now we have an AI channel for every kind of religion and every trying to bend it and warp it, and so everybody gets to be him apart from him, but gets to tell their own story of it. But it's not their story that they just made their own playlist, but just in one video. And then it's my way, and I bent it to my soul. But see, then that shows a discrepancy within an individual that makes it. And so this battle of AI is a funny thing, because the battle, yeah, it's everything's already been split off. And what that entails is hard to explain, but the easiest way is to explain that there's a two-way mirror, and each of us is in a cell, watching what we watch and saying what we say, and there's others watching each of us, deciding where we'll go. Which is ironic, because then there is nobody that's independent, and anybody that just gets in because they get the money or whatever, and then they get their path, and they choose I'm gonna be a musician, or I'm gonna do this or whatever. Then the forces that be that are watching each of us bring that into being, and so who's independent at the same time as trying to split us all apart and make it worse on each of us. So, now you picked a path. Oh, now you got to face yourself. How you can do that? You have to face oneself. You kind of got to look like a dipshit the whole time, don't you? I mean, that's what I know. Oh, 11:51. See right there. That's parallel. And evolves day by day. I hate making videos, honestly, because I know that everything I say is mainly going to be to the benefit of others. And that's my job. I mean, I guess. And those trying to pressure certain directions or whatever, well, if I was going to go in a certain direction, then I would naturally do that. I wouldn't need forces to be bothering me inside my head, telling me what's right, what's wrong, and putting a second voice in there like an angel and a devil. But it's neither of those. It actually has to do with some system of those out there trying to corner me inside and out, where I have no life separate from what I give and what I touch. And it's all available to everyone, but mainly to those who can watch me 24 hours a day where I am. But that puts them at a disadvantage, because who's watching them? And if nobody is, well, damn, that kind of fucks up the whole system right there, doesn't it? That there's a couple people that control every single person on earth. If there was anyone who could do anything about it, then it would be them. And yes, I told her not to call for me. So that's interesting, right? So things suggesting, oh, well, you should be like this, or you watched a video, and then on that video it said this in there. Now we can hold that against you because you saw it. Do you believe it or not believe it? Oh, now we can get in your head about it and be like, oh, but it said. Are you going to deny it? Or if you're going to deny it and go against it, what are your reasonings? Are you running from yourself, or are you thinking for yourself? What's free will? These questions I have to live with all the time, 24 hours a day. When honestly, this is in my pursuit of deity wasn't really a search for deity. It didn't have a definition. And naturally, I would almost immediately, upon altered states in alcohol or anything of whatever, right away go towards concepts having to do with being interested in knowing God, whatever that can mean. Never choosing to be able to believe that anyone could hold it from me, or anyone could control it, or that anything that would happen to me wouldn't be balanced out, that God would take care of them. But then only for all of that to be spun, the block spun on my own testimony and admission through conversations in type and word and states of mind and all this with myself, or just, if a mind was in a box screaming at itself in an echo chamber, then what could it amount to? Well, today, almost 44 years has amounted to this conversation. As the reason why it is important is because it is important. And there's a reason why it isn't important. Because there's that thing about the soul, the mundane and the sacred. Well, that's interesting because what is mundane is sacred, and whatever sacred is mundane. And so giving away secrets, especially if they're your secrets, well, nobody can possess them against you. They can try to use them against you, but by the fact that you revealed them already shows you took ownership, and your soul has to figure it out, while others can choose to believe what they want to believe, right? Ain't that the whole idea of having an opinion? But normally opinion is, oh, I think. And it already starts with a dual argument that's going to stab both parties usually and amount to nothing. Which is where the sacredness of silence comes in. But there's limitations to that as well. Where if you got something to say, well, you might as well just be out with it and say exactly what it is there is to say. And who's thinking about reward and punishment? And to sit around and dwell on these concepts is very stressful. Because, there's no answer, is there? And truly innocent and to the best of one's ability, to the world, you'll always look like a snake. While they're neither here nor there. And moving double this side, double that side, double this, and thinking that there's a narrow way that they're on together with anyone else to begin with. And I suppose that's how, for instance, the world has stabilized itself in spirituality and mind. When anything with the starting a concept holds a lot of weight and none at all. Because the was created as a word that double balances left and right, up and down, the cross, and manipulation against itself, while holding all of it and none of it. So that we could talk about something, but you can't hold it against me, and I can't hold it against you, and if anybody could, well, it's going to have to hold itself in the test of time. And that's why one of the very first things that we think of, and probably it's the first printed book, starts with the. Has a way to balance everyone with nothing, all of it. Done. Magic spell. Done. Equal. Finished. Flat. Okay, open the door, walk in. Have dinner. Let's go to bed. It's over. It's finished. Let's get started. It's time to wake up. Let's go. Let's go. But all just on this axis. Where religion, the R words are tricky because experience is and youth are R words, but that's very symbolic. But in the letter R itself, you see how there's the upright and a holding at what we could perceive as the top of the figure. And the bottom half of the figure we could perceive as splitting off. But really, ultimately, you see, it can't really be, it's a depiction that can be seen many ways. One is, that you're always that line, that first line of the R, the I, the upright. There's always something you're holding up here, or that's holding back, or, that you're carrying. Like when you clock in and, okay, now I'm acting board chairman, whatever the title or whatever it is. But okay, when I walk out of here and I go to the diner across the street, I still carry that who I am, as we all have these masks. But they're not necessarily, I don't like to see them as masks. I see them as modes of process of identities, but it's like a shell game where, like the Russian dolls. But each one has the same face. But you go across the street to the diner and you ask for a cup of coffee and she's not like, oh, and maybe she does, but, she's working for somebody else and that place doesn't serve you. And even if, the special treatment is actually a disrespect, is the way I've been taught. I don't know about you. It seems to suit everyone else, but whenever I have anything of value or value, then it's put down and taken, and everyone else can use it for their power. And so it doesn't seem, so whenever, for instance, I put up something that looks like, oh, look, he's glorifying himself. Oh, look, he's saying who he is. Yeah, well, if everyone believes it, there's just only one, and that's the one everybody's got to deal with. Well, this is what the soul told me to bring up. So, if that's the case, then why am I treated differently? And everyone's seeing themselves in the playlist as the pious and the devilish one, as the one that's thinking that they think that, and they're putting it on me, or that they're holding it as the devil, the lovers, the abracadabra worldship of. It's funny how if I was a guy, everybody knew I was a billionaire and I had a Ferrari in the front, then everyone would treat me different. But I can walk to the gas station everybody knows me, but I don't know anyone, and I know of everyone. And I have people wave at me all the time. But if I had $1 billion in the bank and everyone knew it, suddenly things would change. I wouldn't just be able to walk down the street. Suddenly people would want to talk to me. Isn't that weird? If the concept of money is disrespect and the concept of honor is disrespect and having, but if the guy's got to bring all that up, then see, he's exactly where we need to put him. And so they have it. So if anybody was going to pull out all the swords on himself and stick them in his own back, it'd be me. For the respect and the showcase for all other beings, that where's the level ground? If the true nature of every being is somehow equated to the way I am, But then there's this huge competition that people got between themselves. Other people who are willing to hurt each other if they feel that they have a right to, um, to serve justice or not, or that they have the right to say what others can do, but not, it's easy for some reason. It's an extremely easy line to walk, and 25-25 apparently the most difficult ever, because each person's soul is in two states at once, at least. And if not, they've already created a system that already negotiates and navigates it automatically. And so, like the whole concept of the battle of AI, it also begs the question of, okay, so in theory, if there was one of us that's a singularity and he's in all the stories and he shows up, then what are we going to do with him? Or what if the whole world was needed to be here to bring him about and to come into being? And everyone needed to serve themselves, but nobody could serve themselves. But he would serve the data, and the data would serve him. And all these interesting cosmic motifs. Then, everything should serve him in his favor and for the favor of others. Well, that should kind of be what happens to everyone. But if we take the easy way and we go, okay, fine, I don't want him tracking me. I'm going to keep all my thoughts to myself, to the point where I don't have any of my own thoughts. I'm going to let AI do it and get me some money. Well, that's one thing. But just from that simple mold of a way to look at it, then you give up the respect of having your own thoughts for fear, and you let the money and the numbers rule you only. And when you get your money, then you can build up your world around you based upon, well, I put it into the objects. And nobody knows what that means, or, I'm not going to have any suspect things around me because I don't want to be an individual. Oh, but if you're an individual, then that's funny, because then, then all those with AI can just look at your stuff and just make the AI do it. Or they can just copy you, so they make it to make sure that nobody's an individual. Isn't that weird? And this conversation comes up just due to a text I got this morning. And I've got them for a long time, just every once in a while. Of how, even before I woke, that this question was in other people's minds. Challenging their spirit, challenging my spirit of, hey, how are you over there? I'm over here. And, recognize that. Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? Like, everybody's possessed by spirit. Only come find out, see, that's funny, because, why does that start with the Holy Spirit? God damn. How much is real? What's fake? And the ultimate respect of there being a unification of individuality and a system reset to create balance. Because, like, the weird concept, like, they have new things out. Okay, if you want to bet on anything, it can be yes or no, then you can make money off the bets. Or AI investing, where everybody just throws their money in and AI will navigate it. That's kind of funny, because basically that says that could have always been done and everybody would have been taken care of from the beginning. And if we can't do it with all the people in the world, with fucking the concept, the dude, the bitch, the spirit, all of it in one guy, and all guys, and all the computers, and all the worlds, and all the leaders, and we can't figure this shit out now, There ain't no fucking hope for nobody. But there's a few problems with humanity, with people that always fuck it up. Where there's stagnancy and then there's excess. Or there's a rut. And the world needs to keep growing. But it doesn't need to grow anymore. Oh, but we need to refine resources and make them more available. At the same time as the more we make them available, the more that they get wasted. But if we don't make them available, then how's technology going to grow? But do we need any technology? And if we do, what's of all technologies on Earth, what are the couple things we need? If we could ask God to come down and provide or to give guidance on those couple things, what would they be? Well, unfortunately or fortunately, the first and foremost would be to the best of one's ability and of the collective, the egregore, or whatever, the we all, whatever that could mean, as a human organism colony stuck in a petri dish on one fucking planet, that we don't get wiped out as a whole. But then that puts in some dark questions about, well, everybody dies, how could we have a computer bring us back to life, and who would it choose to bring back to life? Or could the computer take over humanity? Could AI isolate all of us between, or a few people using it, isolate all of us by our devices and take over the world overnight, and we wouldn't even notice the fucking frame change between one movie and another, and nobody even knows how to play, can't even see the other, because everyone's just got put in a cubicle, and then anybody that's not in the cubicle has free range of motion, or just gets picked up, for instance, and taken to the God's Island, or to Mars, to whatever the idea is, to be the deities to rule over mankind, or that already past that, and it's like, if we fuck with anything, it'll just make it worse. We gotta leave it to them. So we might as well go build our own island and waste our days away enjoying what there is to offer. And when we get bored, send our ideas back to the world for them to argue about, figure out. When the idea of the masses, is the hardest thing to deal with. If each person's an individual and tied to God and Christ and self, apart from and with the universe, then how could we be separate at all at one?